to learn the good, the bad, and the reality of the nomadic lifestyle, click the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Click the bell notification. So we're at another city park. This time we're in Texas, and these little city parks are just absolutely fascinating, incredible. I love them. I mean, this park, I don't know how to explain it. It's just beautiful for a little town. They used to allow you to park on the other side of this lake here with utilities, so free electric and free water. It was right next to the bathroom. But they had to shut it down because of abuse. Now, I just made a video yesterday. I don't know when you'll get to see it. I'll put a link to that video here where I talk about, we were at the last city park in New Mexico, and people were dumping their gray water tanks on the ground, even though there was a dump station just, feet away from their location. They're just too lazy to actually hook up and dump their tanks, so they dump it on the ground. Well, that was the primary reason they had to move this one, was people were coming in and dumping their water, dumping their tanks, and it was running off into the lake. So they had to move it, and they moved it up a block and a half up the hill behind the Chamber of Commerce. And so now you got to register. And so when I was talking to the lady, I said, about how great this is, it's really neat, and she was explaining to me why they had to move it. And of course, overstay limits, people were staying longer. So now that you have to sign in. You sign in, you're with your license plate number and date and all that. Very easy to do. If they're closed, you have to do it the next day. If you don't sign in, then it's an $80 charge per night. She comes out there about once an hour, just looks around, makes sure that nobody's dumping any gray water. So, I mean, it's really established, and it's neat that the town was able to figure out a way around people who abuse these things instead of just closing it down. People would get upset when they would come down and say, hey, you can't dump your tanks in there straight into the water. Oh, you can't tell me what to do. And just very self-entitled. Of course, they'd have to call the police. Police come out and have to escort them out. So they moved it. And again, I'm really grateful that they decided to keep it open. As I've said many times before, I really do think that the nomadic lifestyle is going to come to an end. I think maybe these city parks see an advantage to having these things open. There's oil well fields all over around here. And a lot of people come out here to work, I guess on contract basis. Some of them get to stay in these city parks. So I think there might be some advantages for the towns that have these open. People come in, spend some money. When it's all tax dollar funded, there's nothing being replenished, such as in the national forest, the BLMs, conservation areas. It's obvious they're going to shut them down. I don't know how to hammer it home anymore. Over on the east, they charge now. They've changed the rules. I mean, it's gotten really difficult to disperse camp in Florida now. There's just not a lot of places to do it anymore. In the Apalachicola National Forest and Osceola and Ocola National Forest. And this is just within the last 3 years. I remember the Ocola National Forest. Everybody said, oh, come down to the Ocola National Forest. So many YouTube videos that I watched talked about in depth how great it was to camp out there. Well, now you can hardly find any place. I've seen videos now where everything's overgrown. They don't allow camping. Florida's pretty much done with. Mississippi feels like, they're going to close it down. The DeSoto National Forest. It doesn't feel like it did 3 years ago. And so she said two words to me that really stuck with me. People feel entitled to be able to stay out here. They've been owed something, and that the city is required to let them stay there. And she mentioned a second word that I found interesting, which is they are abusing these facilities. Which brings me to a comment that I got the other day. This guy just went off on me, explaining to me that there is a constitutional right. While we're talking about constitutional rights, no one has ever told me where in the Constitution it says this. The Supreme Court made a decision back in the 70s that you could not arrest vagrants. That's what they called them back then, vagrants. But that doesn't mean that they have to allow you to just park anywhere. They can chase you out. They can say, get out of here, you can't be here. And so when you're in a van, they can put up a sign and say, no parking here. They still are allowing you to sleep in your van, just not there. And so that's how cities are getting around this, this constitutional right that the Supreme Court made in the 70s. They're not arresting you, although more and more cities are doing it because of parking violations, but not because they're calling you a vagrant. So all they're doing is just giving you another name. So no, I don't think you have a constitutional right just to be able to park anywhere. This guy was telling me how he has a constitutional right to live out in the national forest. It's his right, not his privilege. And that you cannot abuse your rights. You can say that you're abusing it, then it's not a right, it's a privilege. And since it's a right, I can do whatever I want. And this is in response to a video that I made where I said, people are parking on streets, and they're going up to bushes, people's bushes in their yard, and going to the bathroom on them. It's not your right to go to the bathroom on somebody else's right. There's a few things to this. Obviously, one of the things is your rights end at the tip of my nose. So you cannot violate my rights because you think you have rights. And this is where so many van dwellers are getting confused about all this. They think the government's so bad. Well, look, no matter how you look at this, the government only does what the people want them to do. And so it's about votes. When a politician looks at two sides of the story and they say, okay, the homeowner has rights, that he doesn't want people going to the bathroom on his bush, or there's van dwellers out here saying they have rights to park on the streets, who's going to vote me in the office? You're trying to wage war on a battle you can't win when you're a van dweller. Secondly, this idea that your rights are unlimited, that you can do whatever you want. You can break the rules in a national forest, and you can go to the bathroom out in the forest. You don't have to bury it. You can lay your toilet paper out there. You can throw trash. And these are real comments that I'm getting from real people. I think we all can agree that the Constitution tells us that we have freedom of speech. We can say whatever we want. But that speech is not unlimited. You can't just say anything you want anytime you want. For example, you can be prosecuted for yelling fire in a movie theater because you're putting lives at risk when you do that, because of course everybody's going to evacuate and they're going to stomp all over each other and they're going to hurt each other trying to get out of a building. Your rights to speech does have some limits to it. And if you say fire in a theater, you are abusing your First Amendment right. Well, the same thing out here. Yes, okay, let's assume that you do have a constitutional right to live in a national forest. You can't just go out and break the rules. You cannot go dump your sanitary tanks in streams. You cannot go to the bathroom without covering it up. You cannot leave trash. There are stay limits you have to abide by. We live in a society that has rules in place so we don't violate each other's rights. No, we're not entitled to anything, and we cannot assume that we are going to abuse things because we're free. Thanks for watching. Click like if you like the video, and happy travel.